All right, fellow Vikings, and welcome back. This time, we're going to talk about solar power. Okay, so, welcome. You know, we've done this quite a bit recently, I guess. You guys getting bored of my voice yet? Okay, straight to the point, right? Solar panels and all that are awesome, right? You're able to do so much with them with a small bill up front instead of, overall, right? That's the way I see it, at least. I see I'm paying for, or the solar panels are an upfront cost, paying for electricity up front, as opposed to when everything's, oh, I got a bill and I use this much, they're going to charge me this amount, right? It avoids taxation. It avoids, or drastic amount of taxation and the rise and the fall of the taxes, which tends to be more rise than fall. Also avoids, what are they going to be charging per watt next month, next year, or 20 years from now? All right, so it's future-proofing your costs. It's easier to pay a smaller amount now, and then a lot later for the same energy. I mean, it's the same exact power, right? The only difference is, this is more green, right? More green, whatever you want to think about it. But right, there are a few key things that most people don't think about when they're starting out with solar. All right. What are your common uses? What are you going to be using the solar panels and the electricity for? What is the ultimate end game with it, right? How much do you want to actually power, right? So if it's large appliances like a refrigerator or a freezer, it's only the time it takes for the device to get cold, and then it'll just maintain it at that temperature, so it cycles on and off periodically. That's manageable. An air conditioner, on the other hand, if you live down south or anywhere in the Midwest, or, where it gets, hot and muggy like this all the time, then you're probably going to want an air conditioner. Now, an air conditioner is going to cost you quite a bit when it comes to solar panels, right? And batteries and all of that stuff, because, think about it. You have a 900 watt air conditioner. You're running that air conditioner probably close to max. That way it cools off the area. Now I'm choosing 900 as a base point for a window unit in a small area. Now if you got a exterior system like a split system, you're going to be having a higher wattage, and if you're having a larger room to cool, it's a higher wattage still. All right, so I'm just using 900 as a base point. Okay, I think that's rather realistic for a starter system and all that. You're talking about if you're running that thing 12 hours, that's considerable amount of wattage there. All right, so your batteries are going to have to handle that when there's no sun coming in, and you're going to have to have enough solar panels to both provide electricity for the device being used and charging those batteries at the same time. Okay, all of that good stuff. I'm not going to build your system for you. If you want to come to me individually and all that, message me privately. I'll help you out. Give you some rough idea. But that right there, that's a huge luxury that you're going to pay for. Like when it comes to building your system, you're either gonna pay for it from the electric company, or you're going to pay for it up front. That's a huge luxury. Which we do have an air conditioner. We rarely use it. It's only when it's like in the 90s and it's super humid and muggy and it's nighttime when we're actually inside, because we have batteries that are assuming that we have sun the next day. I know for a fact all of my batteries will not deplete. They'll get down to around 70%, 60%, because I have 8 Trojan L16s. Right? Yeah, the air conditioner will do fine overnight. But the next day, I got to make sure that there's sun coming in, or else you're going to be dead for days. Now, speaking about dead for days, a storm comes across. You're going to have to cut back drastically. All right? We just had the hurricane come through, and we basically were without power for about a week and a half, right around a week and a half, because all the clouds that came in, right, and then the hurricane storm, all like the rains and everything, and then the hurricanes clouds from the tail end, right? So we were basically like without without enough power, to run the basic things that you'd want to run for, I'd say about 3-4 days, because we slowly depleted our batteries, keeping our freezer on, all right, and then we were pulling it a little bit, but it was about enough to keep my mini fridge running. And then the freezer was like, dude, we're starting to melt in here, so I have a whole bunch of ice over top and all that to keep it in a colder, heat mass, so that it keeps it cooler inside there for longer, so it doesn't have to cycle as much. All right, so with that, all right, we had to run the generator for about 3 days, and then luckily the sun came out and it topped off our batteries, and it's running the freezer again, so we're good to go with that. But that being said, I'd say about 4 in the afternoon right now, and there's already shade on my panels. All right, the shade's already on the panels. When the shade's on the panels, all right, I'm not pulling enough for my freezer to stay on. So I need to find a way to get these panels into an area where there's more sun, more time during the day, throughout the year. All right. Yes, winter time it's cold enough that I'm not going to have to really run the freezer, so that's not that big a deal. I'm obviously not running an air conditioner, so that's not that big of a deal. But, all right, spring and fall are killer. All right, we have this huge hill right here, and any of this shade. So, like right now, you're seeing, like, okay, there's clouds over right now, but you'll also see some shade on the parts of the panels. That's coming from the top of the hill. All right, because we're going into autumn and soon winter, right? All of these trees up on top of the hill are killing my battery life, all right? So I need to either raise my panels up, or, you can see a little bit, now the sun's coming out, I see a little bit of shade here and there, all right? But I need to raise the panels up. I need to get them situated in a way where they're able to stay and track the sun. That way we have more hours of charge time on our batteries, because the batteries are the biggest deal when it comes to your system, with the exception of the next topic I'm going to talk about. All right, those batteries are extremely important. You need to make sure that you're not depleting them more than 50%. All right, I try not to deplete mine more than 80%. That way, it drastically extends the lifespan, and I'm not having to do anywhere near as much maintenance. That being said, I'm going on to the next section of solar power. How do we get the power from the batteries into our walls where we're able to use them? We need an inverter. Now, inverters are extremely important, all right? There's 2 main different variants of an inverter. You have your modified sine wave and your pure sine wave, okay? Hold on. My tinnitus is acting up, so yeah, bear with me a second here. No, I'm not editing this. It's not going to happen. Okay, I think I'm good. Okay, modified sine wave. Okay, a pure sine wave inverter, you can run anything off of it, any kind of electronic, as long as you have the power inside the battery and it's below the threshold of your inverter. You should be able to power that. So I have a gaming computer, which I can't run. All right, I had a 1500 watt inverter. All right, it's fantastic inverter, by the way. But if I have the freezer, the refrigerator, and my computer on, that's a no-go. You're maxing it out, because let's say the fridge or the freezer kicked on while the computer's on, right? Then there's a potential of knocking the entire system off, and I'm gonna have to go reset the inverter, and it slowly will break it. That's only because my computer is a gaming computer and all that, so we barely use that thing ever. We mainly use it when we have a generator on, and that's basically it. until recently. All right. Recently, we did something dumb. We had the generator on so we can do some laundry. All right. It was nighttime, and I wanted to run the dryer because a dog went to the bathroom on my bed, and I wanted my blanket. So we had the generator going. We washed and dried the laundry. I went to swap it back to solar, and I swapped it out of sequence. There's a reason why panels or your breaker box is wired in a certain way. You'll see a breaker like solar switchover. I don't even know what they call it. Block on it, where if one is on, the other cannot be. It's a lock. So it makes you literally do it in sequence. Well, I went out of sequence because I can't afford anything like that. I mean, they're like $30, but that's $30 I really don't have. But so I flipped the solar panels on, and then the generator off, and in that split second of a little bit of power, it was 110 volts directly in and back fed into my inverter. It's done. That inverter was done. Like there's nothing that I can do about it. That inverter is dead. All right. Now I can't say nothing because I'm pretty sure someone out there has got electronics background that can identify what part it needs and then solder it back together and all that stuff. I can't do that. I don't know the first thing about that kind of thing. All right. Not my gig. All right. But what I could do quickly is hook up my it's a small like 400 watt backup inverter just to keep the fridge and everything cold until we got the new inverter, which is a 3000 watt modified sine wave. All right, all of this huge story to tell you about modified sine wave. There's a reason why you don't use it for electronics. All right, the electronics will be noisy. They don't like the electricity that you're feeding it. It's not the best when it comes to most applications, right? When I say most, I mean like, check this out. This is my deep freezer. You see the little flicker, the little flicker on the light right there? Yeah, that's because of the modified sine wave. On a pure sine wave inverter or on my generator, it does not do that most of the time. But with a pure sine wave inverter, it never does that. The sound, right? That sound right there is the compressor in the back being on. It's loud, it's obnoxious, and I know it's horrible for the freezer. And if it's bad for my freezer, it's got to be bad for my fridge inside. Right? If it's bad for my fridge and my freezer, it's got to be bad for my computer or the TV or anything else I want to run. So really, you got to price your stuff accordingly though. Right? I could have afforded to get in that emergency circumstance to get the same exact inverter that I have, the Ames 1500 watt pure sine wave inverter. I could have got that entire thing again, right, and be exactly where I was. But I said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and get the modified sine wave inverter for the same price, and it's twice as powerful. All right, it's able to run the freezer, the refrigerator, all of my lights, the washer, and the computer all at the same time. Not well, all right. It's got those issues, right? And it'll slowly degrade the efficiency of your device and potentially break it over time, but it's still capable of doing it. All right. So it's a cost benefit analysis. If I had a brand new 2020 Samsung flat screen TV or whatever, I'm not hooking that up to a modified sine wave inverter. I'm not hooking that up to my generator. I would rather use a pure sine wave inverter. Now, if I could afford that TV, that's what I would be doing. But I can't afford that, so that's a whole different route. If I had the money, I would always go pure sine wave. That would be the way to go for most things. All right, when it comes to like your cell phone, you have an adapter on it, which should help with some of the electrical issues. If you have a laptop, should help with your little brick that you have that you plug in the wall. Right there should help with some of your cleaning up the power. You could always buy a power cleaner, right? They're expensive if you have something sensitive that you want to run, like a PC or something. But you know, that's my advice. I would definitely, if I could afford it, go pure sine wave. But that same inverter that I just showed you, that's 3,000 watts, Ames inverter, pure sine wave, you're talking over $6,000 for it. So you get what you pay for. And that's it this time, you guys. I hope I gave you some kind of information that you couldn't have just Googled. Yeah. I hope it's a little more entertaining than Googling it yourself. Anyways, that's it. And I will see you next time, maybe, if I exist. Comment down below if you think that anyone else exists other than yourself. This should be fun. Have a good one, you guys.